Hello there everyone and welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends. And for 2023 we've only got one last spooky episode for you, but luckily that episode is sponsored by I'll Be Glad When You're Dead. And Karl, are you excited about I'll Be Glad When You're Dead?
I am, yeah, because I've been talking to the guys behind the scenes for a while now, and they're just Brendan Butt, the name of the guy who's doing all the marketing is called Brendan Butt. Mm-hmm. So it's like Smallwood Butt, let's go. And he's just been sending me dumb shit posts his team's been making of their t-shirts and stuff. I'm like, can I have a t-shirt? And he's like, do you want a t-shirt? I'd like a t-shirt. We'll send you a t-shirt. I'm like, yeah! I'm so easy. Just send me a free t-shirt. I'm happy. It's great.
Their Indiegogo will be launching in just a couple of days on October 31st, of course, Halloween. And we'll talk a little bit more about our sponsor later.
First, what we're talking about today.
First, Karl, we are talking about the movie Saw.
Okay, I love Saw.
I'd never seen any Saw film until, we discussed this sponsor, and I was like, just for the sponsor, just so I can talk about Saw, I'm going to go watch Saw 1 and 2, because the rest of them are too torture porny for my liking.
Okay, so your interaction with the Saw franchise then has been, you avoided it at all costs because you're not a fan of gore and horror, and just this week you've watched Saw 1 and Saw 2.
Like a week and a half ago, yeah, for the very first time.
What the fuck is this? And what do you think? Because the first one's actually a pretty good psychological horror movie. There's not much gore in it, all things considered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the effects on the foot being cut off is very much just it's very gruesome while he's cutting the foot off, but then afterwards it immediately becomes a comedy. As what's the name of the actor? Carrie Elwes.
Elwes, sorry, I would say Yules.
It's he's just dragging himself along the floor, and then he's just got a t-shirt bagged around his foot.
You fucking bastard! I'll fucking kill you!
I will say though, the Saw franchise has some of the most baller examples of someone being no, fuck this.
Yeah.
Because in a later movie they established that he cauterizes his own leg on a steam pipe.
Oh.
And then the best one, because you've seen the first movie, right? Mm-hmm. So you've seen the reverse bear trap.
Yes, yeah.
Which is the most iconic shot. There is a bit later in this franchise where one of Saw's 55 million apprentices has that put on him, but they put it on him to rig it so it's just going to kill him. And what he does is he uses it to headbutt his own hand to break it, to pull it out of his restraints.
Oh.
And then he shoves the reverse bear trap into the bars of a prison cell, so it only opens halfway and only rips off half his jaw.
Oh.
And then for the rest of the franchise, he's just the Terminator with half a jaw.
Is it really worth it at that point?
Well, you know what? That guy wanted to live.
And that's obviously the premise of the Saw films, if people aren't aware, is the idea behind Jigsaw is I'm going to make people basically prove whether they have the will to live or not.
Okay, so that means as well you've not gotten far enough into the franchise where you have Jigsaw say to camera, I've never killed anyone. Lucas, did those cops in the shotgun hallway, did they have a chance to survive?
So in number 1 there's the shotgun hallway where he just tricks a guy into walking into a tripwire where four shotguns go off on his head.
Lucas, if he wanted to live hard enough, he would have survived. He would have Weskered his way past those shotgun pellets.
Four point blank shotguns.
Lucas, he just didn't have the will to live, alright?
And then in number 2, when he just splinters a dude's legs in half with the staircase, and then turns on the electric cage around them and murders 5 cops instantaneously.
But Lucas, he'd never killed anyone. They always had a chance. And that's what he literally says to camera, that everyone I put into a trap had a chance, and he just smash cuts like 18 different people who 100% didn't have a chance.
He also, like, with his own hands, he has in Saw 1, he gets a giant, like, fucking, like, foot-long blade and takes it to Danny Glover's throat. And Danny Glover survives it, but, like, I don't think Jigsaw intended him to.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's really funny because obviously he's supposed to be a hypocrite, but because he's like the most iconic part of the franchise, they keep lionizing him throughout the series, and they never, like, the way the movies are framed in a way where they want you to believe him. I think we did a fact theme video where we talk about Darren Lynn Boosman, who talks about how he doesn't agree with the torture porn genre being applied to Saw because, like, you know, the killers in his movie has a point.
And obviously we'll be going through spoilers for, like, a lot of Saw movies here, so apologies if you've already been spoiled, and just, like, be very aware that we're probably going to just dip and dive between a bunch of ones, including, like, the ending for Saw 2, where I can see where people start to then, like, be like, oh, well, he should have just followed the rules, Carl. Should have just followed the rules. He's in a safe and sound location.
Yeah, he Saw 2, the one where his son is in the safe below him.
Yeah.
The entire time.
All he says to him is like, all I want to do is sit here and have a conversation with you. And if you do that, you'll find your son safe and sound.
I want to play a game. The rules are simple. All you have to do is sit here and talk to me. Listen to me. If you do that long enough, then you will find your son in a safe and secure state.
The thing is, Saw 2, like, that for me is what Saw should be. And, like, I think it was a very good twist. I think it was, like, a really cool idea of, like, they finally got there. And not only is it on a recording instead of a live feed, it's on a recording in the wrong house. And then he's taken, I can't remember the name of the cop, but he's taken the cop to the house where the original Saw took place and then traps him in there.
As good as that is, it kind of ruined the Saw franchise because every film after that has tried to have the twist ending, even when it's completely unearned. It's like one of them is like Jigsaw, where it's supposedly like, oh, Jigsaw's back, and the twist is it's actually a prequel. But for some reason, the traps in it involve laser beams. And, like, actual laser beams, when the first trap was like a bear traps, like, duct tape someone's skull.
Or, like, a dude trapped in, like, a bunch of razor wire.
Which, that guy had no chance.
Zero chance.
I don't care what anyone says, that guy had no fucking chance. Like, there's no way he could have made it through that.
When he says, like, you know, he just didn't want to live hard enough, and then it smash cuts to him, like,
sprinting
ripping himself apart through razor wires. He really wanted to live.
That guy wanted to live. And that's the thing is, when he talks about how they always had a chance, it's like... And that's what I think the director of one of the movies said, of like, well, he doesn't actually kill anyone because they always had a chance to live. And it's like, if I put a gun in your hand and say you've got to pull the trigger, or I'll kill some, or, you know, I'll beat you to death with a sledgehammer. It's like, it's not really... Also, there's a bunch of innocent people who die because he puts them in their traps. Like, I think the third one is where it's a guy who wants his fucking kid back, and there's just a shotgun collar around his wife's head, and he walks in and kills Saw, and then his wife gets her head blown off by a shotgun. And it's like, because your husband chose to, like, you know, the path of vengeance. It's like, oh, sorry, Jigsaw, because you've never killed anyone because they personally upset you, have you?
It's like, in the first movie, the reason that he, like, takes the doctor in the first place is like, well, you spend your entire life telling people that they're going to die. It's like, he's a fucking doctor.
Oh, you wait till the movie where it's insurance executives. And the only reason he puts them all in there is because they personally denied his care request for insurance. And then he has the gall to, throughout that movie, say, don't let personal feelings cloud your judgment.
It's like, he's just pissed off because his doctor told him he was going to die. But would he not also be pissed off if his doctor lied to him?
Yeah.
And didn't him he had cancer?
Is that the thing? What do you want the doctor to actually do?
Like, I'm sorry that I'm just informing you that you're ill. It's not like he did anything to him personally.
I said the person who gets it the worst, I think it's the guy in the third one, where he's after his daughter. Like, Jigsaw's got his daughter, but he goes through all the traps, and he gets right to the end, and Jigsaw's there in, like, a hospital bed. And he says, you can do whatever you want to me, but be warned that it could have consequences. So he just picks up a chainsaw and cuts his head off. And then his wife's head explodes. And it's like, because, Lucas, the message there is, vengeance is wrong. Says Jigsaw, man who has a personal vendetta against near enough every person he traps. Because he's a hypocrite.
He is definitely a hypocrite, 100%. He's just an unwell man. But the fact that seemingly people online can't see past the, like, well, he never murders anyone.
Lucas, the directors think that. The people writing the movies don't think he's a villain.
I think, like, why I'm not really interested in watching more, because, like, what I've heard from people is just that, as you were saying, like, they always need to have the twist, they always need to have the big trap, and it's just become a game of trying to, like, escalate it more and more every film and outdo themselves. And
I don't think they've managed to, like, top what they did in, like, Saw 2, 3, and 4.
I mean, Saw 2, like, I don't know whether, like, the general consensus is this, but the needle pit.
There's, like, a couple that people generally think are the worst ones. And I think the needle pit is, like, the most visceral. Because of, like, the practical effects, all the needles sticking out of the woman's, like, dirty needles stuck into her skin.
That's the thing is, like, I'm genuinely curious, like, are they all used needles, or did Jigsaw sit there with Amanda and just, like, paint a bunch of syringes, like, ha-ha?
I don't think he cares that much. Because that's the thing, he says, like, they always have a chance. And it's like, when does that person get any Zuna dropped into a pit of used needles? And what chance did they have?
Obviously in Saw 2, one of the twists is like, oh, Amanda was actually in on it this time. Mm-hmm. And she's, like, working with Jigsaw from the inside. But then, like, the prisoner guy, they're all prisoner people, I suppose, but, like, the big guy just, like, picks her up and launches her into the pit, like, fuck you. And that clearly was, like, not their plan. But does she then have to, like, go to the hospital to get checked up for, like, diseases from all these needles? Like, are they actually all used needles?
Even if they're not, they're still dirty on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think that she'd die from, like, the glass in her. But I'm like, but the other shit that's getting put in her body, what the fuck's that doing to her?
I think, like, the idea of trying to move around in that as well.
Yeah. And
it's like the guy in the first one with the razor wire of, like, you just think, like, how would you ever get through that?
And it's like they never want to shy away from just like, oh no, we're not going to show this or anything. It's like, no, we're going to just hold on her, like, crawling around in glass needles, just, like, struggling. Oh, God.
I will say that film has one of those, like, baller fucking lines where that guy gets the knife to his throat and says, if you're going to threaten me, at least cut me a little. And cuts his own throat with the knife like an absolute fucking psychopath.
If you're going to threaten me with a knife, you may as well cut me a little.
Then he immediately goes and gets himself cooked.
Of course he does.
He doesn't get murdered, Carl. He gets himself killed.
Yeah, he made the choice to put himself into that situation that he was forced to put himself into, or lest he die. I think the best one is there's literally one later in the film. It's like the insurance agents, where it's called the shotgun carousel. And the way to, like, save, there's like 4 or 5 people on a carousel, and you can save 2 of them by putting a nail through his hand, and 3 of them just have to get shot in the face with a shotgun.
Oh my God.
And I think the way they justify that is, well, that was one of Jigsaw's apprentices who distorted his message. It's like, well, he's not very good at his fucking message, is he? If the only people who ever seem to be influenced by him murder people.
They very quickly find that excuse, don't they, of like, oh, well, these are not actually Jigsaw traps, these are Jigsaw apprentices, so, like, if they kill anyone, it's not on Jigsaw.
Even though, like, and then you have that bit where I said, like, when Jigsaw's yelling at one of the people, his apprentices, of like, I've never killed anyone. It's like, you fuck, there's 4 shotgun blasts. Can you imagine, though? I want to see, like, a twist where, like, one of those, like, inescapable traps. So I want to see a Saw movie where someone just pragmatic as fuck and just goes through it without any problem. Well, tell me more about the Saw movies, though.
Well, I was going to say, before we actually get into the wiki page halfway through the episode, we shall talk about our sponsor.
Okay.
That is I'll Be Glad When You're Dead. So I've just got some notes up here. As I mentioned earlier, the Indiegogo campaign launches Halloween this year, 2023. and they can, all of the lovely launch page and everything can be found below.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, it's just like a movie that sounds really interesting. It's essentially like a bit of just a break for them, because they wanted to do like a fun slasher movie because they spend all year making Christmas films.
Yeah, and I want to expand upon my free idea for them of go make a generic Hallmark Christmas movie that's into a slasher halfway through. Because have you seen that sitcom? I forget the name of it now, but it's a sitcom where it's filmed two ways. And it's filmed like a generic 3-camera sitcom, like How I Met Your Mother and Friends, from the husband's perspective. But then it cuts to like a drama filmed in like completely different colour, like single camera drama from the wife's perspective. And it says like, imagine being the wife of like this sitcom husband who's an asshole, but everything always goes right for him. And I would love to see a horror movie like that of like, it's the Hallmark Christmas movie right up until like the killer's perspective, where it's just like completely like filmed like a slasher movie.
But yeah, if you want to go check out this slasher movie, I would advise you to. It's a slasher movie set in like a Cold War bunker that they actually got to go to, like this government bunker, and they say that 90% of the film is like shot within there. And I always love like, go into ridiculous efforts to like film on set and stuff, and just the idea of like filming in this like Cold War military bunker sounds really cool.
Yeah, and taking advantage as well of like, just an interesting location.
Yes, yeah. And like the idea of a slasher film in a bunker just sounds like either terrifying / fun, depending on like, the vibes that you go for. But yeah, just you're literally trapped in there. You're trapped in the bunker. What are you going to do? But yeah, I also just really enjoy the fact that they are going to be making it available on Blu-ray, but they're also making it available on VHS.
So you can experience it in the highest possible quality on Blu-ray, if you really want to.
And I really enjoy dumb physical rewards, and you can actually like get extra physical rewards in the Indiegogo page depending on the tier. And you can also, if I remember you saying correctly, Carl, you can also have like a scream of yours appear in the movie.
Yes, I believe one of the things that they're offering as a reward is you can just submit a scream to appear in the movie. And I need to record that at some point this week, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it because I can't think of anywhere I'm going to be able to like go and like scream loud enough where I'm not going to have someone come in and be like, "Is everything all right, Carl?"
I think what you should do is you should like, just while you're recording this week, just get like Brad Onisha to go buy an axe and just charge into your house, and then you can record like realistic screams. As you just get chased around the flat, just screaming for your life.
Maybe. Also, I did look up the name of that sitcom, and it's called Kevin Can Go Fuck Himself. And the idea is, it's like, a typical sitcom husband who's like always like his antics and his gags, and then it shows it from the wife's perspective, where it's just this narcissistic arsehole man-child. And I was like, that is such a fascinating concept, and I want to see that as a film. Hallmark movie from one perspective, but then like dark, gritty serial murder mystery from the other.
Yeah, because if people are wondering like why we say, they shoot Christmas films all year round, they're just like mostly one of those production companies where, those classic Hallmark Christmas movies, you need so many of them that you don't just film them during like Christmas season, it's just all year round.
And my mum actually loves these, and I had a look at some of the people working on I'll Be Glad When You're Dead's IMDb pages, and sent some of the pictures to my mum, and she's fans of their movies. Because she loves those Christmas movies that's like, hey, this high-powered businesswoman needs to learn like some small-town ways and just get dicked down by this this guy who works in a shop that sells like tweed in a small hometown.
If those movies don't sound interesting to you, then you'll probably be really interested in I'll Be Glad When You're Dead, because it's people who have to be, not have to, but for jobs they normally make like Hallmark Christmas movies, getting to go and make a fun horror slasher film instead. You can clearly tell that they're just having this like really fun release of just like, we get to go make like a fun dumb slasher film, and they've got a bunch of different tiers of rewards on their Indiegogo that you can go check out.
But just the idea as well of who's not watched one of those movies and thought, I wish all the people in this got murdered. I hate everyone in this and would not bat an eyelid if they all got horribly murdered right now, because they all seem like insufferable assholes.
Maybe that can be the sequel.
They do it. That makes sense, but I'll be glad when you're dead. But no, thank you to the team behind the movie. It's been a lot of fun behind the scenes, like arranging this whole sponsorship, and it's appreciated.
It really is. So, but support us by going and supporting their Indiegogo. You
know what, Luke?
Once again, I'll mention, check out all the links below, and hopefully at least go check it out and see if it's something that you're interested in.
So should we actually start covering this wiki then?
We probably should, yeah, because we're like 20 minutes into our recording and we haven't started talking about the wiki page.
I don't even know which wiki page you're on, because there's like 10 Saw
on the
movies.
Wiki page for Saw, the 2004 movie.
So not the franchise?
No, not the franchise. I thought we'd just talk about mainly the film, but then any discussion about Saw just immediately becomes about how dumb the entire series is.
Well, just before we get on to that then, can I just go through because people don't realise that the Saw is like a media empire. Excuse me. Saw is a media empire. So can I just go through all the different Saw properties? Because there's a lot of them.
Saw properties?
Yeah, so we have Saw, obviously, the mainline series is Saw, Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, Saw 5, Saw 6, Saw 3D, the point where they were embarrassed about how many they'd made, so changed the name. Jigsaw, which is also known as the Final Saw.
Of course.
I think it's called
what's after the Final Saw called? Because that wasn't the final one.
The final chapter, you have Spiral, which was Chris Rock wanted to make a Saw movie because he wanted to revitalise his career, and it's where they replaced the voice of Jigsaw with a guy who sounds like Kermit.
Oh, no.
I'm not even kidding. Like to the point where the guy doing Jigsaw sounds like Kermit, and they have Saw X, but they're just the movies.
Wait, isn't there Jigsaw as well?
Yeah, I said Jigsaw. Jigsaw's the final
and Jigsaw.
Yeah, Jigsaw is the final chapter.
Oh, okay, and then Spiral after that, and then Saw 10. Okay,
There's also some short films, because we have Saw 0.5, which was the half an hour long preview of just the two guys in the bathroom. That was the proof of concept. There's the full disclosure report.
Approved, yeah.
The full disclosure report, which was like an in-universe report about the murders. Mm-hmm. And then the Scott Tibbs documentary, which is a pseudo mockumentary set in universe about one of the people involved. Then you have the video games. So we have Saw 2, Flesh and Blood, which are canon. You also have the appearances in Dead by Daylight, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and Call of Duty Warzone. Not to mention Saw the Ride and the toy Billy the Puppet, which has its own separate page, and he is currently in a relationship with the Annabelle doll from the Annabelle series.
Oh my god.
Because they were doing some viral marketing, and they had a shot of Billy the Puppet on his tricycle going out of Annabelle's trailer.
Almost kind of surprised that Billy the Puppet isn't in Fortnite.
But I don't think he's in definitely in Call of Duty.
It would be great if it was instead just John Kramer.
I think that'd be great. I want Tobin Bell, and I want the backwards baseball cap version. I want backwards baseball cap Tobin Bell.
I just looked up that clip for a Fat Fiend video that was edited.
It's so funny, isn't it?
Of it's younger version of John, and it's just John in a baseball cap backwards.
Your name, sir? John.
The thing is, he looks like 90. He looks... Tobin Bell looks... I think Tobin Bell's 78. He looks good for 78, but he does not pass for 40. Even if you can put him in the biggest backwards baseball cap possible, he don't pass for 40.
I did enjoy that little bit, though, of someone pretended they defeated Jigsaw.
Yeah.
And written a book about it, and then he just goes to the book signing, gets it signed, and then it's I'll be seeing you later, I'll be using this, and then obviously puts him in a Saw game.
Do you know what the worst bit about that is, though? He puts his wife in the trap, and his wife gets cooked alive in a brazen bowl because her husband didn't do the trap.
Fucking hell.
Because the thing is, the trap that he said that he was put in wasn't possible. Mm-hmm. So did Jigsaw kill that guy's wife?
No, he's never killed anyone.
No, because that guy should have just tried harder to do the thing that was physically impossible. And that's the kind of stuff that happens where it's I've never killed anyone. What about that guy's wife? Well, she died because he didn't try hard enough to save her. It's but why did he need to try and save her? Because I put her in a situation where she's going to die if he didn't mutilate himself. Isn't that murder? Technically, no. Well, technically, yes. Technically, that's murder in the second degree.
I want to see just a spin-off movie they've got John Kramer in court, and he's trying to like explain why none of it's technically murder.
I would pay money. Well, not pay money, but I want them to make like a Netflix series where it's just them trying to figure out the legality of what he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I want like him, or like Joe, representing himself like a psychopath. Like, I never killed anyone, and then a lawyer just brings out the textbook definition of murder.
So as you mentioned, Carl, saw the movie. We're one line into this page.
We got one. Yeah.
It was originally like pitched to a bunch of people, but it was James Wan and Lee Whannell, like one of those of like they'd never directed a movie before. Saw's an unproven property at this point. It's like they didn't have a massive budget, but it was like I think like $1 million or something.
Yeah, because I'm familiar with the production of it. 'Cause my mum likes the movie, so we've watched all the pre-production stuff as well.
Budget is $1 million to $1.2 million here, and like that's not a load, but to production companies on unproven people, whatever. And so instead, they made like a half-an-hour short film for the concept of Saw,
and they shot that around to different studios. Yeah.
And then someone picked up on the idea of like, oh, hey, this seems great. And then Saw, the movie, got made and went on to make $103.9 million. So like, they got 100 times the return.
It's why horror movies are generally considered one of the safest bets for a studio, because you can make them real cheap. You can make horror movies real cheap because by definition, 75% of your cast is going to die, so you're not going to get a big name actor in there. Why would you put a big name actor in a movie that you're going to kill?
To be fair,
they got a couple. I know they got like
1.2 million. They got Carrie Elwes and Donnie Glover, who aren't superstars, but like they are, in well-renowned movies.
Yeah, they're solid working actors.
And I tell you what, based on the performance, I didn't realise that either of them had acted before, because some of the scenes in that like toilet or bathroom or whatever it is, that there's some rough acting going on in there.
And I think some of it is because they're actors pretending to be bad actors. Like they're acting where he pretends to be dead.
Yeah, that one, because he's got to pretend like he's a person that doesn't act very well.
Yeah.
So like people always meme upon that, him dying, like faking his death. But it's like he's not shit at faking his death. He's trying to act like a person who doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah, he's trying to act like a person who's under a lot of stress, trying to do something that is very difficult unconvincingly, which he does do convincingly, which ironically makes it look bad.
Yeah, but it's meant to look bad.
So the best actor in the franchise is Tobin Bell. Like, he was an absolute find for production. He'd done a lot of stuff before that. He was a character actor and a voice actor for a lot of years. And you hear that voice. His voice is so good.
Yes.
His voice is so good. Like, the fact that he hadn't been in anything big prior to that is a crime. Because, like, I think, we were joking about how he's a villain, he's a psychopath. But he's a very iconic villain. And I think Jigsaw belongs up there with, like, Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger and stuff.
Obviously, like, in number 1, he's just on the floor, but in number 2, like, he's a really compelling character in number 2, and I can see why they leaned into just it all revolving around him, even though he's dead for the majority of the series.
Yeah, the joke I always make is he's dead for more movies than he's alive in.
And, it's just, I think him and the idea of Jigsaw is, like, as I say, just really compelling, and he does a really good job of it, so it's like, yeah, in the first film, he's just a dude on a floor, but after that, it's like he puts in a really good performance in too.
Yeah. And I love as well that he loves being Jigsaw. So
basically, I'm not surprised, because he was trying to be an actor for his career for, a long time without breaking through, and then all of a sudden he's like the face of an entire franchise.
Yeah, well, I just quickly brought up his like Wikipedia page here, and it says he made a one-scene appearance in the 2001 episode of The Sopranos, and then in 2003 he was cast as the villain on the second season of 24. So he had like one major role in like 4 years, and then in 2004 Saw. Yeah. And then the picture that shows him is him at like HorrorCon with like a little toy figure of himself with a big smile on his face. Like, why would he not be like that? He basically just saved his career.
I love as well whatever he does, like performance-wise, getting up off the floor, and he does that weird like stretch where he looks like a fucking donkey.
Yeah, that's the thing, because he's been lying on the floor for ages, and I think the actor, he actually did lie on the floor. So all those shots where you see him on the floor, you think, is that a dummy? Is that like, is that a stand-in? No, that's Tobin Bell. That's like, at the time, like 68-year-old Tobin Bell.
It was
lying
literally
down on the floor.
At that point, cheaper to just pay a dude to lie there rather than get like a convincing dummy.
If they said, why don't they get a stand-in would have cost the same. Just pay him to do it.
Obviously, we've gone completely off the rails.
Of course
we
we
don't
have,
need
yeah.
this wiki, but like, it's just interesting to talk about Saw in general. And
It is, yeah.
I think, like, yeah, the fact that, you know, they get a couple of decent actors in the first one for a cheap budget, they make like 100 times their money back, it becomes this great sensation. And I love the fact that it's like directed by James Wan, who's like goes on to just be like Fast and Furious 7 director.
Yeah, like he's one of those like weirdo directors where you look at his thing and you think, oh, the Fast and Furious guys. Like, he also did Saw. What?
It's like, that's how he got his teeth cut, his Saw.
Yeah, and it's like he's just one of those people where you look at his. I've got his IMDb page up here. So Saw 2 and 3, Dead Silence, Death Sentence, The Conjuring, Insidious, Demonic, Annabelle. So a bunch of horror movies. Then out of nowhere, Fast and Furious 7. Just random.
And like Aquaman as well.
Yeah, and then he does like a bunch more horror movies, and then he goes back and does Aquaman. Then he did like another few horror movies, then Mortal Kombat. Then a bunch more horror movies, and the second Aquaman movie. It's like, what is this guy's career?
I mean, it's great.
He's like the guys from I'll Be Glad When You're Dead. He does horror movies, then takes a break and just does a Fast and Furious 7.
Why not? You know what? He wanted a break from fucking Saw, Conjuring, and Annabelle. Like, the thing is, it's very, very poorly acted in the first movie, but, like, I think they did a good job of making, like, a short, not a short film, but, like, it's a 90-minute film, which is short nowadays. It's just, like, you know, it did what it needed to do. Some of the production was, like, a little bit lacking, but it was good enough.
And fair play to them as well, because they live that student filmmaker dream of coming up with a one-sentence pitch, and then turn it into a whole movie. Because I believe the pitch for the movie was, what would you do to stay alive?
Right.
And he's like, would you cut your own leg off to survive? It's like, well, of course I would. And it's like, okay, would you cut your leg off with a rusty hacksaw?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would, yeah. And then that was the
like, would you
entire
pull your
pitch.
eye out, etc., yeah.
Like, what would you do to, like, you know, stay alive? And then I think there was something similar with the Human Centipede movies.
Mm-hmm.
Where like it was the director or the writer of that was getting drunk with a mate one evening, and they were talking about the case of a child molester, because that's the kind of thing. They were like, what would you do to punish them? And they went, I'd sew his mouth to the arsehole of a trucker.
Oh god.
Like, you know, a sweaty trucker on the road who does nothing but eat energy drinks and burritos, and let's make that into a movie.
Oh god.
Which is one of those
hate
things.
thinking about Human Centipede.
I hate thinking about it too, but the idea that it was just two guys got drunk, thought, what's the worst thing we could do to a person? Okay, let's make a movie about it.
I kind of wish like more horror was a bit more like the first two Saw films, because maybe I could watch a bit more of it.
Low budget with an interesting idea.
No, we talked about Final Destination the other week, and I just something with a really cool concept.
Yep.
Is something enough to get me to go watch something that's a bit more horror-y. I don't find any interest in the idea of like, oh, a creepy doll's gonna murder you. It's like, okay, but I'm just gonna have nightmares about a creepy doll.
That's it, you just baseball that shit.
I really enjoyed those first two movies, and it's a real shame to me because like I now have the itch of like, I want more, and I know there is more, but it's not the same thing. It's like, it just becomes a lot about like, let's put a guy in an entire rack where we twist his body apart. It's like, I don't want to watch that.
The point where the person's survival depends on somebody else saving them, I'm like, fuck that. Mm-hmm. Because that way, the person in the trap doesn't have a chance to survive. Like, their survival is entirely dependent on somebody else.
I would argue that Adam never had a chance to begin with in the first movie because, like, the movie starts with just his key getting sent down the drain.
We could have cut his leg off as well.
That's true. And I don't know why they never tried cutting the padlock.
I don't know why they don't try cutting the pipe.
The pipe or the padlock, like, I get that the chain...
ripping the pipe out of the wall.
The chains are giant. I get why that rusty hacksaw can't make it through that, but then there's a tiny little padlock keeping it together.
Or, like, you know, the pipe on the wall.
Mm-hmm. It's
like
rusted to shit. Yeah.
A rusted to shit pipe in like a dilapidated bathroom.
Obviously, there's a lot of plot holes in it, and it's just for the convenience of the film needs to happen. But like, it is just like, but you never even tried the padlock. You just like, he never used the gun on the padlock, and then he cuts his leg off after he's told his family are already dead anyway, and it's like, okay, sure, yeah, okay.
It's like just more the fact you said like that guy who like fucking rugby tackles his way through 8 feet of barbed wire and only gets halfway. It's like he wanted to live.
Yeah, he really did.
He wanted to live, but just like Jigsaw's like, we didn't want to live hard enough. And do you know what, you find out what Jigsaw did for him to survive? He gets in a car crash, and there's a piece of pipe stuck through his stomach, and he has to pull it out. Mm-hmm. And that's what he does, and that's what makes him realise. So, okay, I bet that fucking hurt, but you didn't have to put that, like, but you had no choice in that moment. Mm-hmm. And you had, like, all the adrenaline keeping you going. The people you do just waking up from being fucking comatose. Mm-hmm. And don't have the, like, you know, the benefit of adrenaline.
Amanda had some fucking adrenaline as she like watches the dude wake up and is still like, I'm going in.
The thing is though, what did that guy do? What was his test? Just think again. What, like, I've never murdered anybody. It's like you have to cut this guy's stomach open to live, and she's like, just a fucking fatality on him. What did he do? What chance did he have? It's great.
What was his test?
His test was like not waking up.
Thank you all for watching, and thank you once again to I'll Be Glad When You're Dead for sponsoring this video.
Yes, check out the links below. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.